Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
That's David Bates.
That's Josh Cary over there.
And it's Saturday morning. It means it's time for the At Home Show, coming to you alive here at the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where there are signs of frost on the mulch piles outside.
Oh, there most certainly are. We have
smells good.
We
out there
have
today,
much to discuss, and let's just start off with the weather. It's one of those forecasts that
confusing.
You need to pay attention to. I'm just saying. It's
Put
so
the coffee
much,
down. Look,
so much
right
so
here,
that
right here.
my newsletter that I write on a weekly basis, I kind of pushed my content out a week ahead.
Okay.
Simply because I thought it was important that people be apprised of what changes are ahead, and indeed they are. It's very mild right now, 43 degrees for the high today. We're currently, I think we're in the 26 degree range, so it's cool this morning. It'll be some sunshine today, sunny again tomorrow, 41, 23, so still seasonably cool. Monday, an overcast day, but similar temperatures, 42, 32. Tuesday, 48, 31. Everything looks normal. Wednesday, more of the same, 48, 40. Thursday, now there's a question mark.
Ding, 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 ding.
47 and 8. And then there's rain in the forecast. And then that also says 1.2 inches of something that has a snowflake
Don't
next
use
to
that
it.
S word on the radio.
So,
TV.
and if you let me scroll my screen up here. You see this temperature, precipitation temperature, where it changes from blue to kind of a violet color.
Oh.
By about 6 or 7 o'clock, allegedly on Thursday, it makes a change, and then you look for the days ahead. Only 18 degrees for the high on Friday. 25 for the high on Saturday, 30 Sunday. We don't get above freezing again until Monday.
Right.
Low temperatures, 9, 8 on Thursday. 17.
6,
So
5.
it's to say the least, our Christmas forecast is looking chilly.
Now
the question is how white could it be? And the thing of it is, whenever you see a forecast in this part of the world where they forecast like snow on Christmas or Christmas Eve,
It's a lie.
yeah, that's what I always
It's a
think.
lie.
However, there are temperatures to support that, and I don't see on this particular forecast, which is the Weather Underground that I have our weather station connected with, it doesn't show anything of real precipitation, but you have some that are
I saw
take
one.
exception.
Yes, I saw one that was forecasting in Middle Tennessee 4.5 inches of snow
for Christmas Eve.
for 5 a.m. on Christmas Eve.
Well,
And in the mountains to the east of us, 12 to 14 inches of precipitation in the solid.
so since we don't know
Crystalline form.
with certainty what is going to occur, our advice is to stay weather aware. And that was the essence of my newsletter this week, is that mindful of Mother Nature is the operative words that you need to be thinking about as we go into this holiday season. So we're going to be talking about that and your questions. We've got quite a number out ahead of us today.
Yes, we do.
We're going to welcome in the rest of our cast here. By the way, Tyler Blankenship, capable of production skills. He's right there.
Showrunner.
Not capable of showing my face because
that's okay. And across the way, we've got Caroline Gant, Austin Lowen. Welcome in, guys. Glad to see you this morning.
There
We've
we are.
got a
Oh,
bowl.
hi.
Whoa.
That's a really dark view.
guys, turn the lights
spooky
on.
over here.
They're bright-eyed in.
No, not really.
We've lost our Mevo there. I'm going to boot it back up, but y'all just keep on bantering.
Okay, so
Boot your Mevo.
well, we may in fact talk to you guys even if we can't see you for the moment, and we appreciate you being here this morning. Technical difficulties just occur sometimes, but let's first of all talk about what people need to be concerned about. We're looking at single digits for a couple of nights.
Wow.
Austin, in your mind, what do people need to be worrying about? What do they need to be thinking about? What are you worried about? Did you ever get that Did you ever get that tree planted at your house?
No.
Still
Still didn't.
You're going to give that olive a real test, is what you're going to do.
I am, with the olive, I might even bring it inside the house.
Yeah.
Just for a couple.
Yeah.
If I don't
Have
get it
another
planted.
house plant.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm putting money on he doesn't get it planted
And
inside.
brings it in the house.
Yeah, if he
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it in for a couple nights. If you have, hey, here
There
we go.
we are.
There you are.
There you are. Wow.
We're bundled up. So if you have, plants in the ground, y'all, there's not much we can do really. Too much when it comes to Mother Nature. It is
Too
what it is.
much.
Yeah.
That's with like one of those fuzzy little tutus.
We
Yes.
have plenty of those in my house. I've got three girls.
yes.
and we-
Tutus everywhere.
I know all about them. But yeah, really, things in the ground, shrubs and trees, they kind of just have to live or not. There's not much you can do. Now, things in containers, like I have we've talked the past 4 weeks now about my olive tree. My olive tree is not necessarily extremely cold hardy. Let's just say that. So barely cold hardy in Middle Tennessee at all. So I'm probably going to bring something like that in. And you can, for a couple nights to bring it inside your home is totally fine, or in your shed or whatever, something that's a little bit warm and protected from those winds. So things like that we need to be mindful of, when it comes to, say, like your pansies on your front porch, or if they're out exposed a little bit, like even pansies that are extremely cold hardy, when you're talking about 7 degrees,
Yeah, they're going to get bit.
they're going to get injured. They
Yeah.
certainly are. So if you have a way to bring those just inside for a couple nights, do it. I mean,
Or
you're going to
you
prolong.
could cover them with like a quilt or something,
Yes, or a
something to
blanket.
give them a degree of insulation. The rule of thumb, generally speaking, when you have a container that's on top of the ground, is that the plant, whatever is planted in that container or whatever's growing in it, will lose an effective 2 hardiness zones. So if it is a zone 5 hardy plant, then you're in a zone 7 typical winter, you would expect to be okay, providing that you have addressed the moisture needs
Yes.
that are very important. And that's the one thing that I always try to remember to remind folks. And so, because it's extremely counterintuitive, people go, well, won't water freeze if you water it right? Yes, it will. But what water also does is it fills the air spaces in that soil, and it slows down greatly how quickly the soil can freeze, and also to what extent that the plants are able to hydrate and survive. So you want to make sure and send them into it very cold. And what you're looking at the forecast that we've had on Monday, if you had a chance, or you could, or maybe Tuesday, water again as soon as things begin to thaw, because you want the plants to be able to stay hydrated. You don't want those roots to be dehydrated at all. Now, with regard to pansies, like you were talking about, Austin, certainly they'll get bit back. It won't kill them because they're very cold hardy, but it'll be a few weeks before you see a whole lot out of them. So if you're interested in keeping them looking pretty good, you could do some insulating cover, or as you say, move them in the garage or something for a couple of nights, and then they'll never know that the cold weather's even happened.
I'm going blanket.
Throwing the
With
blanket over.
blanket's pretty easy to do if you
Smart.
can. If you can do that, and it will, you're not just trying to cover the foliage. You're trying to, maybe cover it all the way, insulate it to the whatever it's sitting on. If it's on the
Concrete.
on a concrete porch or whatever, you can get it down to there, and then your chances of it, coming back and flowering profusely or keeping in flower.
Because it could be 70 degrees the week after next.
You just don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And our of course our thoughts go out to all the folks that had really severe, typical December tornadoes in across New Orleans and Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all through the South, the deeper South. We kind of missed it. Everyone to the north got a lot of snow. So we kind of missed it, but we're not going to miss it next weekend. So we need to be mindful of that as we're going through the program today.
Yes.
And I'm sure folks will have questions. And, of course, you can reach out to us either through there's a link to the Google Docs that allows you to be able to reach out to Tyler directly to ask questions. And there's also, we have links on our questions on our Instagram and Facebook pages that Caroline takes care of. So why don't we just proceed, guys?
Myrtle's watching.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Myrtle. All right, here's our first question of the morning. Is it still an okay time to plant strawberries, blueberries, or garlic?
Well, 3 very different plants, but
Quite different.
Let's talk
yes,
about them.
All 3 are fine to plant right now. Now, I say that blackberries are dormant. They don't have leaves. They're not going to get injured.
Was
They're
it blackberries
sticks
or
and-
blueberries?
Oh, sorry, blueberries.
Blueberries.
I heard you. Okay.
Okay, blueberries.
It was blueberries.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't
Someone
change
was
the
listening
answer.
really well.
Yeah, it doesn't matter much. Blueberries are dormant right now. They don't have leaves. They're not going to get injured in this cold. They should be totally fine. Garlic is definitely very cold hardy. That's something that you plant right now to enjoy the garlic in next summer. Strawberries, a little bit different. I don't know. What do y'all think about this? Strawberries are evergreen, so they have foliage that's still up right now. If you were to plant those and we get down into this 7 degrees, you might see some injury. It's just a freshly planted plant. So whenever you change the environment that drastically, you might see some issues. So strawberries, I'm on the fence about. I would maybe wait until after this, this extreme cold to set them out. Now, on any other year, for the most part, is for a normal Middle Tennessee year, I would say plant strawberries in the winter. That's totally fine. But this year is a little different. This weather is just.
But once they get established, they're fine.
of course.
Yeah.
And that's the key is that if they're container grown, say they're in a 4-inch pot or a 1 gallon size container, and you're planting those in the ground, it's not going to be any problem. If they were bare rooted, say if someone dug some out and shared some with you, you have you run a great risk of those heaving out of the ground, and the heaving occurs.
Is this before or after dinner?
This is before dinner
Oh,
or
okay.
after, either one. The heaving is really where the ground freezes and it pushes things that are not really attached well. Someone's trying to get somebody's attention.
I'm kidding.
He's being ugly right
heaving.
Yeah, he's ugly.
now. He's being ugly over there.
He was throwing
So-
things.
No, I just
So bare root plants are the things that you need to be. I would be suspect about trying to plant that just now because you're going to have some hard frozen ground here for a few days. And I was telling Adam Chapman, our general manager, this morning, twice before I have seen us have some really cold temperatures in December, and then that was the coldest temperatures of the year, so
Yes.
of the winter season. Now we're
Back
not
in
even
89, it was like that.
We're not even technically at winter yet.
No.
We're at the very end of autumn. Winter is just around the corner next week, so this change we're going to see could not happen in a more timely fashion seasonally. So there's that. Conversations abound around the studio. What's our
Well,
next?
Austin was just saying he doesn't like the houseplants that I brought in this morning.
Well, that's his problem.
what?
That is his problem.
Austin.
Look, no, I did not say that at all. I
I-
said that these guys, they don't do it for me.
Pepperoni
It's
is.
a pepperoni.
Pepperoni.
It's
Yeah,
kind of like a
I
reddish.
prefer sausage.
Off.
But if you get into this one, it's got cool green and red leaves.
But the green
at
is not
it.
so great, and the red's not so great. It's like in between.
But it's a
both.
Christmas color plant.
Is it? It's not
But these
very
hellebores
green.
over here have got flowers on them.
Yeah, those are better.
Yes.
And both of those are Caroline's doing. So
So
think-
thank you.
I think we have a moot point here.
Oh, Caroline did all the green room yesterday, so
As long as it's not a mute point, which is one of my
That
pet
happened
peeves.
last week.
I hear people say that use that word erroneously. It's a mute point.
They're wrong about that.
Not saying that's,
well, we do have a hellebore question.
Yes.
There could be.
Yes.
Well, let's just go
Let's
with it.
do
then.
it. Will Linton Rose winter well in pots?
I hope so, because I'm going to take a couple of these home. I lost 3
I am
of
too.
them.
Yeah.
I lost 3 they got burnt this summer.
Did you plant them in too much sun? This is the opposite of the question right now. But
They're in the backside of the house that usually gets shaded in like it's midday type, but I had 5 and I put they put them in the highway to Hellebore. You remember this.
oh, I love it.
The 2 on the beginning one and the final one did fine. The 3 in the middle.
Well, they're all the same cultivar?
No,
The
I have
different
3.
ones?
I had the 2 on the ends are the same and the 3 in the middle were I think I had 2 varieties there.
It's
Gorgeous.
always the ones in the middle, right?
Yep, always.
Always.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll plant 8 of something, the one in the middle is going to die.
I know Shannon the boxwood was on the end, and he was the boxwood that chose to die. So, yeah. All right, but let's answer our
Yes,
question.
Well, why not? Since we're talking about
That's right.
hellebores,
Yeah.
Hellebore is very, very cold hardy. It truly is almost every year. 7 degrees is still kind of cold, though. I
for sitting in a pot on top of the ground.
Sitting in a pot on top of the ground, yep. And, like David has mentioned many a times, keep it moist. Make sure that day before we get that really cold night, make sure it's moist if you're just going to leave them outside. It certainly wouldn't hurt to just throw a blanket over 'em.
Anyone who might happen to come out to Bates Nursery today or in the coming days will see a dramatic change has occurred in that we have moved, certainly by mid next week, we will have moved everything inside. So we've been working on it diligently for the last several days. And our new area, by the way, is stocked to the gills. Really cool looking in there. I think everybody's pretty stoked about how that has turned out. But that should be a clue to you. And if you've got things that are sitting in a container and you can move it in, and it doesn't need much protection, a basement or a garage probably will be a sufficient amount of help. Just do that, and then you can move it back out early next week.
I had a bloom on my hibiscus in the basement yesterday.
I would not move that outside.
No, no.
Yeah, and do know that there's a difference between death and
Dormant.
and injury. Okay, so you might see like some of those if hellebore, if you buy it or whatever, and it's got some tender growth on it, which you can kind of tell the tender leaves versus the the hardened off leaves. Some of those leaves might get injured. Not necessarily going to kill the whole plant though. So if you don't want to see injury and we want to see a perfect, good-looking plant all the time, then bring it in. But if you're okay with it, you got it in a big like ceramic pot, it's just like hard to move in. Then just expect a little bit of damage on the tendermost growth. We can prune that off later in the spring and watch it regrow. So
Yeah, I'm wondering if Josh's hellebores that are in the center or maybe in a little bit of a lower area, maybe they got rotted. Perhaps?
You wouldn't think so, as dry as it was, and I was diligent.
You wouldn't think so.
And if you to describe the area, we have a concrete patio which is the outdoor kitchen. And there's a pathway, and there's going to be a feng shui, and that's where the doggy graveyard is and everything like this. So we're building the memorial, and hellebores I had them spaced, I thought, properly, and you had thought that the one on the far end, which is the farthest away from the moisture source, would have been the one that would have gone, but it didn't. And it actually, the one on the west side of the house actually is in the most sun. So I don't know. Stuff happens. It's a plant. We kill them once in a while. Not that I like it, but I know where to get some new stuff.
Well, we do happen to have a couple.
Yeah, I know people. So it's all good.
And as I understand it, we have a full truck from Monrovia coming in this week. So, and that is without regard to what the weather does. The truck is already en route, so we will be unloading it inside. It's the pottery that will be outside, Caroline.
Oh, no. Yep. We get 23 pallets of pottery next week, so that's going to be really exciting.
Well, there's plenty of room in the big shed out by the studio here.
Well, hopefully we can get the drip area that's got the covered area. We can get those drip lines pulled up out of the way. That way, some of it at least can get under
Under
a cover where they can be maybe pulled inside and worked on.
Because not all of those pots and crockery are actually designed to stay outside all year long, are they, Caroline?
No, not all of them. I would say probably about 70% of the shipment, though, it's going to be really big pots from Pottery Market. Our good friend Karen, who we've had on the show.
Karen.
Hello, good morning, Karen.
She was about a year ago when I was out with detached retina. That was
That's
one of
what
my
she was
times.
on.
It was detached. We will not talk about my eye issues today, however.
It's all about I, huh?
All about it. All right, let's get a new question.
Okay,
in.
let's do that. We've
Pronoun.
I'm not
rambled
ready to
enough.
think about pottery just
Okay.
yet. Best time and strategy for transplanting a Japanese maple?
good question.
Let's see.
That's a
we
great
have to-
question.
Well, if it's me, I'm going to wait till this weird weather gets away. I don't really want to have to dig anything up and move it now whenever we are going to get into those cold weather. Like David said, if a plant is not rooted and latched into the earth, you can certainly see it push back up out of the ground a little bit, which is what we don't want.
That's a lot more of an issue for a bare root plant. Now, if
Right.
you were going to
Definitely.
dig a balled and burlapped item, I'll take exception with what you're saying. This actually would be a good weekend to do it. And I don't mean to sow seeds of discontent or disharmony around here, but that I would look at it differently. I would say this is really a good time. Yeah, get it done, get it watered in. But you only have between now and Wednesday ready to get that done. So if you dig a good enough root ball on it, and that's a whole nother thing right there. If you're thinking you're going to bare root the thing at all, then I completely agree with you, Austin. Is that it doesn't need to be dealt with, but.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's just that a lot of people, when they dig those up, they don't get a great root ball. There's a lot of roots that are being cut. There's a lot of roots that are exposed to the air. So. Yeah,
if you measure, here's a rule of thumb for folks who have maybe are pondering such a thing. If you measure up the trunk 1 foot or 6 inches, actually, 6 inches off the ground, and measure the diameter of the trunk. So however many inches that might be, you need about 10 inches of root ball for that. So if that is a 3-inch diameter tree, you need at least a 30-inch. That's the minimum size. It probably could stand to be at the 36. So you're talking about a big chunk of dirt, and it's
not just this way. It's this way.
Exactly. So you just need to be mindful of that.
That's a bunch of dirt.
And if you're going
to,
so obviously it's a lot easier to transplant something when it's smaller.
So you'd have to almost dig a 5-foot wide hole, 4 feet deep to get that hole, to get that root ball.
I moved a crepe myrtle that was at the corner of my house that the previous owner had planted way too close, and I moved it out 5 feet, and I should have moved it out 9 feet. I did not move it out far enough. Now I can't move it. It'll be chainsaw material, or pull it out with get a record to pull it out or something. So that's the nature of it.
You have a record in your name?
So anyway, my whole point of it is that Austin's not incorrect. It's just that I have a slightly different
strategy. She asked for strategy, so we've offered 2 possible strategies to do the same thing.
If you've got other things that are deemed to be a priority, you might want to concentrate on that. Yeah, like Christmas. You might want to, don't get halfway into it and go, oh, I can't get it finished. That would not be good.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But if you were going to move something, wouldn't you want to be sure you had your earth mix?
Yes, and that does help you a whole lot in having a better.
That's part of
chance
your strategy
success. That's
anywhere
right.
you go.
And right here in Nashville, a product called Earth Mix Garden Products, and a whole line of products actually. If you were going to transplant something, Earth Mix Landscape is a great soil conditioner to use, and it, of course, contains all the best things that your plants need to transplant well and to be able to get those roots readapted back into the soil around them. And Earth Mix contains all the good things Mother Nature provides without any chemical additives. So things like endo and ectomycorrhiza fungi, humic acid, all those special things that Mother Nature gives us are given to Earth Mix products in addition to make sure that they are especially enhanced with those things, so that when you use them, you're going to get really great results out of it. It doesn't matter which product that you use. Caroline would talk, even on those peperomias, she would say, well, you might want to consider Proganics I, because that is it is a professional indoor growing mix. It contains no peat, by the way. It is we use coconut core in Earth Mix products. So
coconut and pepperoni in the same pot.
Believe it or not, and we'll. Anyway, yes, Josh, that's a true statement.
Me,
so anyway, there's a complete line of Earth Mix products. Go to earthmix.net and click on the products tab there, and it'll take you through all the products. If you want to see where it's available, click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and it is available throughout Middle Tennessee and Kentucky. So no matter where you are, there is a Earth Mix location near you here in our viewing and listening area. So either zoom in to a spot near you or put your address in for turn-by-turn directions for the location nearest you. And just remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. And we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that and help you have success in your gardening. You know, Josh, you contend that it is a really loving way to say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
A couple of bags of Earth Mix.
Or gift certificate. I mean, you can get it to designate the gift certificate to be used for.
You
Earth
could
Mix.
do that.
But if you wanted to take the, the big bag of mushroom, what's the mushroom one? Magic mushrooms. Okay, you can. If you wanted to put that under there, it's got a pretty blue bag and everything else.
Well, no, that's gray on the
Magic.
The Viagra is the blue bag.
Oh, that's the blue stuff.
That's yes, that is the earthworm casting.
Oh, that's right. Mushrooms and earthworms.
The green bag. If you want to keep it,
great,
if you want to keep it in a Christmas theme, Earth Mix Garden has a kind of a green bag, so you could go that route. So anyway, check them all out. All the locations around Middle Tennessee and Kentucky, Southern Illinois, Alabama, Indiana, I should say. Check those out, earthmix.net, and
I'd be willing to bet you that if your local favorite garden center, if you're not within the trade area, if you go in there and start asking them for it, they can get it.
I'd say there's an excellent opportunity.
I don't know who they would call here at the nursery, but I think his name is Tyler, right?
Tyler is one of those likely suspects.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, info@earthmix.net.
Yep,
that is
absolutely.
That's the funnel which will get Earth Mix to a local garden center near you.
There you go. So thank you for that. So back to the questions. What you got, Caroline?
Okay, we got a boxwood question. I know Austin's going to be excited about that.
Where is Shannon when we need him? I thought he's the boxwood.
He was handing out biscuits.
Well, he's the boxwood that died. I don't know if he knows about him since Shannon as a boxwood did pass away, and I had to throw him into the woods. Trim boxwoods now or in the spring?
I'm going to wait. I've got boxwoods at the house. And I've noticed, I've got a variety called Justin Brower's boxwood, which is a really
fancy.
They are fancy a little bit. They're a true dwarf, very, very small, only a little like 2x2 grower. Wow. And they've suffered an injury this year. Okay, so already, and I've noticed it here at the nursery as well. We've got, believe it or not, we got 3 little 1-gallon Justin Brower's boxwoods left. That's just kind of leftovers from what we had. We had many in the in the growing season, but we've only got 3 left, and I've noticed they've suffered a little bit of topmost injury as well. So mine did the same thing. I was looking at them this morning, and most of the plant is green and still looking good, and then the topmost leaves are like this kind of whitish gray kind of color, and they're not going to come back from that.
You don't think that it's worth the time right now to maybe lightly trim that off and make it look a little nicer?
My thing is it would make it look a little nicer, yes. But I think that foliage on top that is left there is going to somewhat protect the foliage that's below it. So if I go ahead and prune that off, then if we get really, really cold like we're about to get, then that next set of leaves that are on top could get injured as well.
Yeah, well,
now I would have to prune those too.
Those boxwoods that we have seen that got burn in the top of them all came in, they had tender growth on them, and they're not so sensitive that cold weather typically is harmful, but it's a timing issue. We had some temperatures in the mid-teens back about a month ago, and those plants had come in either from the south or the west coast, and they had not had time to harden off properly, so tender growth had got toasted on them.
Yeah, and even mine that are in the ground, that have been in the ground for 3 years, their growth on top got injured.
Sure.
So like I said, for me, I'm okay with seeing that. I don't like it. Trust me, it looks ugly. But I'm going to leave it there just so it's like a little added blanket, if you will, of leaves to kind of cover up the lower leaves below it. And then in the early spring, say around February time, I'm going to go in there and really shape those up nicely, get rid of all those old leaves, and then watch it flush with.
I'm not intending to do this, Austin, but it seems like this is the day where I have a different opinion on everything. But I would, for my purposes, I would lightly take that off. I don't think you really get much protection with that. That's just my perspective. So anyway, that is to say that whether you leave it on there or whether you decide to trim it off, it probably is not going to make a big difference. It's mostly about what you're aesthetically
willing to look with.
Yeah, if you're okay with leaving that on there, it's fine to leave it on. It's also okay to lightly shear that off. I had actually had Taylor, or one of our wonderful landscape professionals here, had her do that to some of those that you were talking about, because they makes them look a little bad. They're not bad plants, but they did have some brown on top. So I have done that as a cosmetic thing only, but the plants are otherwise really good. So you can either take Austin's advice or mine, or neither.
Or neither.
Right.
We should have a poll, see which one people go with.
Well, this has just been a
10-foot
weird
pole?
year for them.
It has been.
10-foot pole, that's right.
I've never had to trim my boxwoods, honestly. I planted them small. I've never really even had to trim them yet. And I've got green velvets as well, which the green velvets suffered no injury. They've been very, very hardy, and they haven't had any issues. But the Browers, little Justin Browers out front, I'm telling you, they took a little.
Do you think
bit.
now, Austin? Let me ask you this: do you think that that was prevalent on those simply because it's part of their natural tendency is to continue to push new growth later into the season, and they're therefore more susceptible to having a late burn like that? Because, as you said, other boxwoods didn't show any signs of it at all.
Yeah, I know. And there's a number of them out here at the nursery, too, that are some have no problem at all, and then some of them did. And I think it's a cold hardy thing. I mean, I think some boxwoods are a little bit cold hardier than others. And, my Browers up front, they didn't necessarily have like tender new growth. It wasn't like they had just flushed in the fall and then we got that cold weather and it zapped them. They had been up for a while. I mean, they were. It's just
they just hadn't fully hardened off.
And the top just got a little bit singed. So it is what it is.
So if you've got those in your yard, don't worry about them. They'll be okay.
Yeah.
It just looks a little unsightly right now.
It definitely does. It annoys me.
You're mad at it right now. Okay, let's get a new question in so Austin's not thinking about his boxwoods. Should I be pruning my thornless blackberry bush that grew crazy this past year?
Blackberries have a way of growing crazy, don't they, Tyler?
Yes.
Tyler's got a big old
Whoa.
blackberry.
Yes, I do.
Tyler, take it over.
Actually, I recently cut it down. But I've propagated it since because it really likes to just pop up everywhere else.
Now, when you say you cut it down,
yeah.
did you dig it out?
I did.
Okay.
I dug it out,
Now-
yes.
Now,
there's-
okay, Austin, how much you want to bet he still got blackberries in there? He didn't get it all.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well,
Everywhere.
the new year hasn't happened yet, so I don't know what's going to pop up.
It's going to pop up. Probably about 8 of them.
Well, see,
You just made so many babies like when I tried to kill a yucca. Now they're everywhere.
Good point.
Yeah,
so
it's a great point.
I dug up that bed pretty good. I'm not surprised if some will pop up, but it is also because of my pruning that my blackberry is not going crazy in that area.
Yeah.
And what I do is just prune the current year's cane that fruited this year. And then I leave up the cane that sprouted this year but did not fruit. So those spent canes that have fruited are done in my mind because
But if you cut them down, they are for sure.
Yeah.
yes. And then that those new canes, I just encourage the new growth and shape it the way I want it, and then they fruit next year.
Yep.
I get a great crop, then I slash them, and you'll see they come up about the same time. You'll see the new growth, and then all of a sudden it's like multiple feet tall, and you're like, how did you get so tall? And you cut it, you top it at wherever you want, and then it starts to spread out this way.
When you ask that question of a blackberry, what's the typical response you get?
Oh, how did I get so tall?
How did you get so tall?
I don't know, man. You put me here. I think that was about the
That's a
every
perfect
time.
voice.
Earth mix.
Well,
Earth
that
mix.
would-
Earth mix,
There you
man.
go. That'll do it.
Sunshine, water, earth mix.
Why are my berries so juicy? Why are my blooms great? I don't know.
Earth mix.
Well, maybe they're just rhetorical questions you ask your plants, and who knows?
Could
So,
be some things that I say to myself while I'm tending them.
But yes, to answer your question, yes, prune your prune your blackberries. They get too crazy, too wild. You don't need all those stems. You really don't. They get to be too much where you can't even barely pick them.
And more are coming.
Yes, more are coming behind it. So, last year we had the electric company come in and they cleaned out my wood line. And on the
They're
wood line,
fine arborists, aren't they?
I tell you, they just take it. They just take it. That machine takes every bit of vegetation or whatever. And we had a whole bunch of blackberries on that wood line that my wife and my kids would a lot of times pick and eat. And Jill, my wife, was so worried after they did it. She was like, "Oh, they took all the blackberries." I'm like, "Hey,
No.
they just
They'll
made
be
our
back.
lives a little bit better with the blackberries because you cut them all to the dirt." You're going to see so many more pop up, and what happened. They didn't necessarily fruit great this year because everything was taken down, but I'm telling you, next summer, we're going to have more blackberries than we can even imagine.
You're going to bring some in.
Yeah, so don't be scared to prune on them.
Yeah, I have them all over my property, so don't bring them to me.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. They've taken over. All right, is it too late to dig up my dahlia bulbs in Nashville?
Well,
Oh, someone here loves dahlias. Who is that person?
me.
Austin.
It is probably a little late. I mean, honestly, but listen, still try. I mean, go out there and dig them up. I mean, whenever you do dig them, feel them, and you can kind of tell if something is alive and firm. You're going to see those tubers that are going to be firm and intact. Everything's going to be kind of together with.
They're
the root
mushy.
system. If they're mushy, ain't
You got
no
a
good.
mushy tuber, you're in trouble, man.
Exactly. I mean, you can just kind of tell, looking at dahlia. So at least try. It probably is technically a little late. We've had some pretty nasty weather. Like David said, we had a couple nights. I know my house was like 17 degrees, which is pretty cold for a dahlia. So at least try. But after you dig them up, look at them, feel them, and if you do feel that they're viable and that they have some, rigidity to them, put them in some sort of paper bag and put them inside your home or your garage. Typically not your home. You don't want it too warm. You want them about in that 50 range.
I would say there's a reasonable chance that they might still be viable because those cold nights that we had back in November were like just one night events, and the soil temperature was still quite warm, so the tops, of course, got killed back down immediately after that. But you still may be okay on the bulb, so it's certainly worth taking the time to dig them out. The worst thing's going to happen is you're going to find them rotten, and I'm thinking maybe you're going to have more good ones than not.
Yeah.
I'm hoping so.
Give it a go. Dahlias are worth it.
You're gorgeous.
Gina, who asked the staghorn fern question last week, she said, "Last week after the show, I cut off approximately 15 dead leaves, 1 live leaf standing. Surprisingly, 4 new leaves have begun growing. So thank you for the advice."
Oh, yay!
There you go.
That was super fast.
That was so fast. You must be putting that in the right growing conditions there. So great job, Gina. And congratulations on that staghorn fern doing well.
Well, she probably remove the shading. Those bad fronds on there were shading.
Bad fronds.
Bad fronds, yes. And she got those out of the way, and that allowed that plant to be able to push those other little buds of leaves out that were starved for sunlight otherwise.
It's so true. We get pruning questions all the time, like, should I cut it, should I not? Pruning really makes things happen a lot of times, Getting the old leaves out of there really encourages new ones to follow it. So don't be so scared all the time on when to prune. If you have an ugly looking leaf, take it off. It ain't helping you.
That's right.
A yellow or brown leaf is not going to go back green magically. It just doesn't happen that way. So remove it and you'll see new ones.
I love cutting on almost all my houseplants.
Well, and it's very therapeutic, particularly if you've got frustrations to work out. If it's big hedges, you can go out there and trim away all that hostility you might be feeling.
Just cut away.
Speaking of pruning, I had a question yesterday from a customer of ours. Gillette Johnson is her name. Her and her husband, who have been shopping out here for years, and they have my phone number, so they text me plant questions a lot. And they texted me
That's how we do it out here.
That's right. We
And I
all
had
give out our numbers.
And they texted me a question last night about a large cactus, about a 7-foot cactus. So I looked at it, and I didn't know how to answer it. I had to call Caroline because she's our cactus queen. And my question to her is that this cactus was 7 foot tall. It did not have any arms on it whatsoever. Like, it didn't do that. It grew straight up and, like I said, about 7 feet tall. But at the very top of this plant, there was this brown, grayish, sunken spot that was like literally probably like 8 inches long. Like it was bad. But my question to her is that can you cut a cactus not, just anywhere more or less below that wound? I knew to tell these customers that they needed to cut that off. It's not going to get better. Cactus doesn't do that. But I didn't know if I needed to go down to the next segment, if that makes sense, like where the cactus grows from. There's like a line there, okay? And then the new growth happens. But I called Caroline, and she reassured me that you can cut a cactus anywhere.
Machete.
Yep. I mean, a clean cut. It could be a
But
machete.
if you're in the house, it can be dangerous.
Samurai sword is what I recommended. But you can cut it there, and it will regrow a whole new stem from that cut. But I had to
Was it
reassure.
bruised? Did they give you any detail? Bruised
He did,
or
and I meant to tell
damaged?
Caroline this. I haven't, because I didn't give her the total information. I got more information later. So on their way home,
It got bent. That's
bent.
what it was.
It got damaged. And
It's also a Peruvian
Well,
apple cactus.
and one of the things you need to, whenever you're dealing with pruning something like that, is to make sure you go well beyond where any rot or damage has occurred. Go cut below it, and the new growth. That will heal over cactus that are harvested in other climates. You dig them out and you or cut them off, and then allow them to heal over to callus over before you put them back in the soil. That's how they're done.
I had a comment from Paula on the Facebook page that the UT Extension website has a detailed publication on blackberries. They've got all kinds of information, but
They have a lot of detail. They're a university. That's what they do is detail.
and they're extended.
And
They have an extension.
And they are extensions.
to add to that, y'all, when you are researching for plants and information, go to university websites. Don't stop at like Dave's Garden blog or whatever. You get like thousands of different people that are commenting on this that don't have any.
And it's not that Dave's Garden is not good, but you're right. They're coming from all over the country.
It is, and it's just some of the answers or questions that I see on that. I'm just like, y'all, this is not accurate. Like,
No, but if you did MTSU versus the University of Central Washington,
Yeah, just pay attention to your location.
yeah, watch your.
yeah, it's definitely that. And there's all sorts of good universities that I mean, Texas A&M has an excellent horticulture program. Penn State University, Michigan State University. I mean, all of these websites or university websites .edus is where you need to be researching your plant stuff.
Right.
These are the scientists. These are the people that are doing it and researching it, not old Molly that's growing some tomatoes. I don't know. What I'm saying?
Hashtag soapbox.
Yeah.
Oh my
Sorry.
goodness!
I had to get that
And
out
Jude,
there.
we thank you for sending the picture. I'm trying to figure out how to get the picture of your beautiful Norfolk Island pine decorated for Christmas up onto the Facebook page, but it's not wanting to save, David. I
Don't know why, but
We'll look into that.
you can ponder on that one while we're talking about Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Yes, folks, that's where we are. And the green room is located right here on the facility of Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And if you come out to see us today, well, it's an inside job. You're going to be able to come in and shop in nice conditions because we've moved it all inside our newly expanded facility that gives us continuously connected structures from the checkout area all the way to the very back of the greenhouse. Those areas are all now completely filled indoors. So, while we may not know what next week's weather holds, and it's a very, very questionable right now, so stay tuned on that one. You can always get the latest information through my blog.
Dave's blog.
Well, actually, it's called In the Garden at Bates
Oh, wait a
Nursery.
minute. Okay.
And if you want to see the latest blog post, you just go to batesnursery.com and click on the new blog post, and that will bring it up. And this week, I did not write about things other than to tell you that you need to be mindful of what Mother Nature is doing. And we talked about that at the top of the show today. You do need to be thinking about that. But what I also told you is that if you're coming out and you're wanting to save big on some stuff, it's still a good time to plant. The whole weekend is going to be nice. 25% off on all plants other than Japanese maples and our tropical house plants. Everything else is 25% off plant materials and all bagged earth mix garden products. So come on out, check those out. We'll be glad to help you figure out how to get the right plant in the right place the first time. And the other thing is you can go to our gift card section, which is BatesNursery.com does not close, so you can just click on that and you can we have preset amounts, you can do a custom amount, and you can email that directly to the person whom you're wanting to be the recipient of that and pick out your own little design for the appropriate card. Depending on the holiday, it's kind of a Christmassy time, so you may select that. So check that out over at BatesNursery.com. And just remember this, we've been beautifying Nashville since 1932, so we really take gardening seriously, although we try to have a good time doing it. Obviously, if you listen to this program frequently, we take what we do seriously. We don't take ourselves that seriously. So we take a special time to have fun in the garden, because that's, after all, what it's all about. We're going to get out here and enjoy the process of bringing beauty to our lawns and our landscapes. And right here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, now for 90 years. Wow. Coming up on our 91st year, Josh. Hard to believe that. You and I are coming up on our 25th anniversary of broadcast.
Quarter century, man.
That's
quarter century.
You know what? And I just realized that I will probably have to. I'm going to be going through the Panama Canal on that Saturday.
Wow.
So I'm going to try to do like part of the broadcast from there. We'll see how good the bandwidth. We'll see how good the bandwidth is in the. That should be challenging. So yeah. So anyway, that's a little trip.
Light up the bird, man.
It's my good friend Steve Searles is having his 75th birthday, and
in Panama.
There's 140 people of Steve's friends who are taking this chartered boat. We have all the people on there are friends of Steve's. So we're going to be taking this
very cool
cruise through the Panama Canal. So I'm looking forward to that, and go ahead and extend birthday greetings to my good
February.
friend Steve Searles.
We had one person on the Bates Facebook page, Andrew, chime in on Austin's side. By the way.
Okay, so the voting has started.
Yep.
Okay, well.
And we didn't start this contest, but here we are.
Both ways are fine.
Well, I could have just agreed with him and let it go, but I like to we're not afraid here to have differences
controversy.
Well, it's not controversial. It's just difference of opinion. There are more ways to look at things than a singular way. So
and we also have
all about
we have
me, man.
a lot of interaction here, but my iPad is showing the comments funky.
Funky.
Essentially. Funky. Do I need to protect my hens and chickens planted in a strawberry? I can't see the rest of the comment. I'm so sorry.
Strawberry pot,
in a strawberry jar, yeah.
From the extreme cold. Oh, hens and chicks planted.
Frozen, yeah.
I have it covered. I have it on my covered deck.
Okay. You may not see any injury, but
yeah.
Seriously though, 7 is cold, y'all. So and that's, what did you say? I think it was 7 and 9 the next night. So
yes.
I mean, why not?
18 degrees is the high temperature.
It's the high. Yeah.
So
Just
things are going to freeze solidly. Mm-hmm. If you're in question and you can move it inside, why not do it for a few days? Just move it inside on Wednesday or sometime during the day on Thursday before darkness falls, and then you'll be ahead of the cold weather. And then by the first of right after Christmas, you can move it back out. So.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not excited.
No. And like I said earlier, you probably won't see death, but you might see some injury. So why?
Yeah.
Just bring them in if you can.
You'll become more familiar with what death could look like.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we still have quite a few questions.
Okay.
I think Tyler has a few from Google.
Yes,
over
I
there.
do. And another one that Jules has asked on the Bates Nursery Facebook page, and this is, I'm just now getting to it, was pertaining to blackberry. I've dug up a blackberry plant 3 times, but it keeps coming back. How far out did the root spread? It started as an errant root from a potted plant that I left too long before planting.
You're going to be able to answer this one really well come spring, Tyler, because you're going to see that. I think Austin and I are in agreement on that one. You're not done with that blackberry.
No.
And
More or less, if you have any roots that are left down below in the ground, they can surely sprout. So,
Of course they can, and don't call me Shirley.
yep. So get ready because it's probably still coming back. Tyler, yours too.
It's coming for you.
I mean, I was very thorough, and I'd say those roots definitely went out at least maybe 4 feet, 2 feet in every direction around the plant.
You didn't
And
get
that
'em
was
all.
because
You
No,
didn't
you
get 'em all.
didn't.
You didn't.
It's like digging out a wisteria or Bermuda grass or
or passion flower.
Yeah, you just don't.
Or mint.
I do grow passion flower. I have grown mint, and we have gotten rid of mint from a bed, believe it or not.
Lucky.
So,
Well,
I attribute it to my pruning.
You're
and
doing
keeping it
great,
cut
but let's
back.
get to questions. 'cause
Let's
we got
take a
about 10
poll.
minutes.
Is Tyler's blackberries, are they
Oh.
coming back?
Yes.
I say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right, we'll see you next year.
right.
Tyler, you have to be
Unanimous.
honest about that.
Yeah.
I will. I promise. I haven't lied to you guys. Okay.
Not today.
Oh my gosh. Plant.
Questions.
Yes, Google Forms. We have somebody. Jillian is asking. I purchased a pine, an Uncle Fogey pine from you about 1 to 2 weeks ago. Can I
remember that.
still plant it ahead of this really cold
Oh,
weather,
yeah.
or
Was
should
it
I
Oh,
wait?
yeah.
1 or
Absolutely.
2 weeks ago?
It doesn't matter.
Oh,
Get
okay.
it planted. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll go 1.5.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
the pine will probably be at least a zone 4 hardy, and you're going in the ground with it. Plant it, water it thoroughly, walk away.
Yep. Very cold hardy.
Okay, and then Jay Riffs asked, I have limelight hydrangeas in large black.
Our first hydrangea question.
There it is.
There
Wow.
it
Ding,
is.
ding, ding, ding.
Every week.
In large black plastic pots. I have watered and continued to water. I have the pots wrapped with a bed sheet and have leaves on top of the plant roots in the pot. Is this enough protection with the cold temperatures coming up next week?
You have done
Good.
more than what you would even
Yeah.
have to do. I mean, you have done it. So that plant is fully insulated. Limelight hydrangea is truly very hardy.
Put a Christmas bow on it.
Put a Christmas bow on it.
It's
and
done.
let it be. Yeah, no, you did great. That's fine. That's plenty. All that plant needs to make it through.
We're proud of you here at the At Home Show.
We are. You did a lot more work than I'd have done.
Yeah, I left mine sitting bare root on my driveway one winter, and they were fine.
Yeah.
All right, we got a dogwood question. Is it too late to plant a dogwood?
No.
Okay, we got that question in. Is it too late to plant bulbs for the spring?
No.
There we go. We got 2 questions.
We're knocking them down and in unison and in agreement.
That's right.
That was perfection.
Amazing.
All
was
right,
good.
let me get to our next question. All right, we got a question from Miriam. Good morning,
Hey,
Miriam.
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 Love you.
Love you, love you, Miriam. My hoses are up now, but David says water new plants and trees before cold hits. How much?
Well, the container plants in particular.
Yeah.
The stuff that chances are, if they've sat out in the open, they're wet. We've
Yes.
gotten here at the nursery 1.27 inches of rain this week. Last week we got 4.15 inches of rain.
Yes.
If they're in the ground and they got even close to those amounts, they are not dry. So
No.
a container that might be on a covered porch is a different deal because it might not
get the
get that
rain.
rainfall.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you need to be mindful of. Otherwise, you probably don't have to worry about it.
No. No. We've
No.
been wet.
Thank you, Miriam.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
She's having a little Christmas get together.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, is she?
I got invited. Yeah.
I didn't.
I didn't hear you.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
Austin's upset.
It's in the mail. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's in the
Yeah.
Sure.
Got lost in the
Okay.
mail.
Attire is required, however, though. That's
Oh.
what is this attire? It says yes. That's what it said. So
Just one.
Steel belted radio.
Okay, our next question comes from another person that
Wow.
is very near and dear to everyone here at the At Home Show.
Yes.
What is the most wonderful time of the year?
is that Santa?
I
a
feel
ho,
like I
ho.
know the answer, and I'm not hearing
who
it.
is this one person that another person near and dear? You're not going to say.
I'm not going to give it away. But, I mean,
Well,
are we going to
let's-
answer it? Is it?
Let's all answer.
Okay.
Okay. Who's
Crumbus.
first?
I would say 3:30. I mean, right?
3:30 would be the
3:30.
That
correct
is the
answer.
official response.
Yeah.
That was from Josh.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Josh, do you like Christmas? Is this the time of year for you? Are you all about it? Or?
He loves
I'm really
humbugging is what he
yes,
is.
I'm a Grinch kind of guy.
Okay.
Are you really?
No.
Oh, I was like, never would have guessed that.
But he likes to play that role, though.
Ah, I see. Okay, we've got just a couple more questions. Josh, did you have any on Facebook? before we
Nope,
go?
not right now. But Bill is wanting to have the snow because it's too cold to pour concrete, and he wants to get into his snow removal mode.
Oh,
So-
he can have that.
Yeah, he can have all of the
Do
snow.
Not for
not
me.
want-
I don't want
All
it
right.
at all. Should I water my cactus as much in the winter? My answer would be no. Like we discussed earlier, though, with Austin and David, there are varying opinions on plants across the board. But I really don't water my cacti that I bring inside for the winter that much at all, if not any water. I do have one Peruvian apple cactus that's about 7 feet tall that I have in a dark corner. It has sat in that corner for going on a year and a half. It looks fine. It hasn't grown, and I have not watered it once. So they tend to go dormant in the winter. The days are shorter. They're not getting as much sun. Even though they're inside and your house is heated, they still know it's up. So I cut back my watering. If it's a smaller cacti, I'll usually water those. My really, really big ones, I just let sit and go dry. So, yeah, don't
There
water
you
them.
go.
If you want to listen to me, don't water them. And our final question.
You should listen to you. I mean, you.
And Jude's
That's true. I do know a lot about cactus.
Yes.
Matter of fact, give a shout out regarding that. My good friend Jack Cawthon, who is the proprietor, owner of Jack's Barbecue, got a few locations around town in catering. He had a problem with a big cactus. When was that, Caroline? Is it in August?
Gosh, it was.
Or
Yeah, it was probably
September?
August.
Anyway, he was thinking ahead of the curve enough, knowing he needed to get that thing ready to go inside, and Caroline came to his rescue and went over there
Repotted
and
it,
repotted
brought
it,
it
and
in.
got it inside. So he's got a happy cactus now.
The key to repotting big cactus or small is styrofoam or noodles. That's what I used for this. I just cut a big slit down the side of 2
We're not
noodles.
talking spaghetti.
Lo-
Not
Romaine?
ta- I wrapped it in spaghetti noodles and then we all ate it together later. No, pull noodles. So you don't poke yourself and you can pick that cacti up. And
Or
it's
big
so much
leather
easier.
welding gloves, those big.
Yes.
and eye protection.
And be prepared to cuss some.
There was no cussing that happened
Yeah,
there.
right.
Well,
Not there. At my own house, yes. When I almost dropped a huge cactus on myself last winter, and I did cuss quite a bit. Okay, final question. Should I do anything to prepare newly planted perennials before the big freeze?
Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, we have talked about that a lot today.
Thankfully, we have.
You know, my
How
answer on
new?
this is, perennials are dormant. I mean, you pretty much just planted a pot of dirt. I mean, most things aren't up it at all. You know, it's just its roots down below. And, you know, you can mulch. You add a little layer, 2-3 inch layer of mulch on top to kind of protect. But other than that, you kind of just got to let them be.
yeah, one of the things you might want to consider doing is getting some little irrigation flags and stick flags, and you can write on the little flag with a Sharpie what is actually going to be in that spot. Because
You'll
when
forget.
they turn into a pot of dirt or a dirty spot on the dirty ground, it's hard to determine and remember where they are exactly. So
Yeah.
you might consider doing that.
And the lawn boy won't go over them if you're. If
well, at least it gives you a spot to be able to kind of avoid. So.
Yeah. But other than that,
But
you kind
yeah,
of
if they've been in the ground even a couple of weeks, as we already mentioned, we've had really sufficient rainfall. We are not in drought conditions any longer.
And it's going to drop pretty slowly up until we get the real big baba.
Well, it's going to beginning Thursday. We know we will be in the 40s during the daytime, and I'll just bring this back up here quickly, just so that we everyone can be apprised of that. We're going to. Let me refresh to see if they've changed it since we've been here. You know, they change the forecast about every 15 minutes. It would seem 37 degrees now. It will be 48
Ooh.
and 8 and rain.
Yeah,
and
right.
So yeah,
Getting worse on Friday
yeah,
with wind.
yeah. So if you're going to try to cover something, you won't be able to do it on Friday because the wind's going to be fighting you. So
And that wind means wind chill as well.
yes. Now, here's something worth mentioning. Plants do not experience or feel wind chill. So wind chill does not have an effect on plants.
It's mostly talking about human discomfort.
Yes, and mammals that don't have much fur, which humans are largely the biggest.
Drat.
Yes. So, so don't worry about wind chill with regard to your plants. It's actual temperature that matters. Is that it, Caroline? We have any more questions? Is that it?
We
got 'em all
wrapped it
done?
on up.
Whoops.
Oh, Tyler has already said goodbye.
No.
Oh, yes.
He is.
Hey,
He's-
folks, if you want to see, I figured out a way to get Jude's Norfolk Pine. It is now the profile picture on the At Home Show with David
Sweet.
Bates and Josh.
Beautiful.
Very
Carey.
good. Very
So
good.
It'll be up there through the holidays, Jude, because we know you've been listening and watching for years and years and
We
years.
do appreciate it.
And we do appreciate everybody else
Yep.
listening.
Thanks for chiming in. I'm always looking for your input and questions, and
Yes.
we'll continue to do that.
Yes, do
All
that.
right. We don't know exactly what the schedule looks like for the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned.
It's a game time decision for next
That's
Saturday
right.
morning. But hey, folks, one way or another, there will be a presence on the
Oh, yeah.
the At Home
Oh,
Show
yeah.
on Saturday morning next. We'll see you.